Hey, this is Pastor Dave. This is your Monday Mojo. Hope you had a great weekend. Snow, right? So last week we celebrated Veterans Day. And for me, it was a mixed bag because also in that week I officiated at the funeral services for a veteran, a gentleman named Billy Lomax, who actually served and flew with Chuck Yeager when he was in the service. And what I noticed about Billy was that it was always difficult to get stories from him about his time serving out. I remember at the funeral itself, the Eastern Star organization did part of the service, the Masons did part of the service, and then he had a military burial. And I remember this gentleman that was in the Masons, after they had done their service, they all paraded past the casket, and this gentleman with shaking hands stood and gave a salute, a final salute to his comrade, Billy. And I tried to imagine that gentleman as a young, strapping boy fighting, serving for his country. Over my left shoulder here is what would have been my father-in-law, although I never got to meet him, Lou. It's his Army uniform. And I think it's the same with him. I've heard that it was not always easy to get information from him out about his time serving. I had the privilege last Friday of walking in the human flag for One America in the Veterans Day Parade and seeing the honor that was paid there. But what I discovered in most of these cases is these gentlemen who served in these conflicts and in these wars, it's not always easy to get information out of them. And part of that is the horror of war. But part of that, I think, is something entirely different. You know, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, when you give, when you do good things, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That's a strange thing to say. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. It's almost as if he's saying, keep your giving and your acts even away from your conscience. It's about being internally motivated. And Jesus said, you do that, you will be rewarded eternally. You will receive a reward that lasts forever. But if you want to be externally motivated, if you want the applause of those around you, you'll get that reward, but that'll be all. That'll be it. As I look around today, we live in such a culture where external motivation with all the forms of social media, with all the forms of communication, is so prevalent today that developing internal motivation, developing that sense of I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do and it makes me feel good on the inside, and I don't need someone to give me a participation trophy in order to be happy about it. Jesus talked about it. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And these gentlemen and ladies who served in those conflicts, I think they understood that. I think they had a peace about doing what was the right thing to do because it came from within. Anyway, that's the way I saw it last week. That's the way it felt. And that's my thoughts on the great veterans of our country and the words of Jesus, to be internally motivated, not externally. That's your Monday Mojo for this week. Have a great week.